honored guests, book club members, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for that warm welcome. And a very special hello from Vancouver to the people joining us from around the world on the World Wide Web. It is good to be here, right now. The present moment is a wonderful moment. Frankly, I'm recalling my teenage years when my friends and I would go to rock concerts at the Montreal Forum. And there was always the local band no one had ever heard of warming up for the main event. I feel like one of those local bands no one has ever heard of. By the end of this evening, though, I do hope that you'll remember the group I represent, the Greater Vancouver Compassion Network. So let's think about compassion. And I first invite you to close your eyes as you feel comfortable and to start to become aware of your breathing. I invite you to breathe in and breathe out. Match the length of your exhales with the length of your inhales. And now listen. Do you hear that? Do you hear that magic? That magic of your breath. That is life. In the ancient Hebrew, it's ruach, the breath of life. And you and I and all people share it. We are linked to ourselves and to each other by this simple and profound act of breathing. In the words of a great teacher from my tradition, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, we are all one. Black, brown, yellow, red, female, male, gay, and so-called straight. We are all one. And simply and wonderfully, we experience that oneness in our common and collective breath. At the Vancouver Compassion Network, we want all of us to experience compassion as easily and as deeply as we experience breathing. We want to celebrate compassion in its various forms all over the Lower Mainland. We want to help individuals and groups engage compassionately to make their lives, their work, and their communities healthy for all people. We want you to know that compassion is already out there, and it is already in here, right now. And compassion is vital for us as a species. In 10 years' time, we want Metro Vancouver to be world famous as a place of compassion. And to do that, we are focused on three main functions with our partners, the Charter for Compassion, the SFU Center for Dialogue, the Vancouver Foundation, Van City, Free the Children, and a host of other groups and individuals. First, we are creating an online environment where we can share our stories of compassion with each other, to teach and to learn with each other. Secondly, we're using real-world spaces like the SFU Center for Dialogue, where groups and individuals from all walks of life in the Lower Mainland can meet in order to have the sometimes challenging and difficult conversations about our experience as neighbors. For example, how might the victims, the perpetrators, and the witnesses of the Stanley Cup riots of 9 months ago use compassion, accountability, and responsibility to build our communities rather than cause more pain for the fleeting relief of revenge? And thirdly, we want to build a series of measures that we can use to keep track of our progress, increasing compassion collectively and individually over the next 10 years. And very importantly, we want to honor compassion in real life. Those amazing moments of individual compassion that we share with family, friends, and strangers. Because at the Greater Vancouver Compassion Network, we believe that compassion is at its heart real life. A story. A friend of mine wrestles with depression, and I have her explicit permission to tell this story. One afternoon recently, she was in a therapy session, and the therapist with whom she works made a decision that for my friend's safety, she needed to be hospitalized. An ambulance was then called. As it pulled up to the doors of emergency at Vancouver General, the EMT sat there, sitting quietly next to my friend. After a little while, as my friend sat quite still, he turned to face her and said, "I have only known you for a few minutes, but you strike me as a very smart, creative, and caring person. And I'd like to ask a favor of you." Tentatively, my friend said, "Okay." "When we go into the hospital in a minute," he continued, "I'd like us to go in there together. And I'd like you to go in there with your head held high, because you have nothing to be ashamed of." And in they walked, side by side, heads held high. My friend still wrestles with depression, but for every one of the dark days, there is a shaft of light, a shaft of hope, because one person cared enough to speak up and to walk beside her compassionately. His compassion has helped her start a new story because he listened and cared for her as a fellow human being. And I want to stress how simple his act was. There was no need for great procedural gymnastics. There was no need to change a policy, to form a committee, to storm the barricades, or even to write a blog about the importance of compassion. He simply treated her with dignity and respect. In the midst of a process and culture that could and often does fundamentally shame people, he gave her the opportunity to appear in public without shame. He treated her, in the words of the Charter for Compassion, with absolute justice, equity, and respect. Karen Armstrong's visit here to Metro Vancouver is an important step for all of us who live here. She'll be meeting this week and next with thousands of people, from political leaders through young people, spiritual leaders, academics, business people, and individuals. And at the GVCN, after Karen has gone home, we want our learning and engaging with compassion to lead to action. We're looking to increase what His Holiness the Dalai Lama calls a generosity of the heart. His Holiness says, every day as you wake up, think, today I am fortunate to have woken up. I am alive. I have a precious human life. I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to use all my energies to develop myself, to expand my heart out to others for the benefit of all beings. Friends, Imagine what our communities would be like if each and every one of us used our abundant breath and energy to expand our hearts for the benefit of all beings. In the words of a far better speaker than myself, at the Greater Vancouver Compassion Network, we have a dream. We have a dream where each and every one of us finds the courage to be compassionate with ourselves, to know that we make mistakes and to own up to those mistakes when we make them, to learn from them, and to move on. We have a dream where here in Metro Vancouver, sharp and humiliating words are banished from the political discourse. A dream where people of different spiritual traditions can gather safely to reflect, to contemplate, and to learn from each other. A dream where everybody in our varied and diverse communities live under an ethos of first do no harm. A dream where we individually and collectively have courage. We have a dream where we all hold on to what is good. We have a dream where we return no one evil for evil. We have a dream where we support each other, and a dream where we each honor the breath of life in all its wondrous variations. My colleagues and I invite you to go to www.gvcn.ca and to join us, to join our work to make Metro Vancouver world famous, not only as a beautiful place physically, but a compassionate place in its very heart and soul. Thank you.
Don't need that.